Hello everyone and welcome back to DC Central, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the season premiere of Batwoman Season 2, so let's discuss. So after possibly the longest wait us fans have ever had to endure for the Arrowverse to return, it is finally back this week with our first show of the bunch, Batwoman Season 2. And as you guys know, I have literally just watched Batwoman Season 1, literally in the run-up to this premiere. I literally did my review for Season 1 literally 2 days ago, and you know, you guys will know my thoughts on that season. I thought it was a decent season, I enjoyed it, there's a lot I liked about it. I did have some issues with it as well, but for the most part I enjoyed it. And you know, with Season 2 we have a new protagonist, we have a new lead actress for the show. Ruby Rose is now gone. So there was a lot of interesting things going into this, and I was very excited to see how they were going to handle certain things. And now we actually have the episode. I've watched it. I watched it this morning before I went to work. Now I'm here recording my review. I mean, for one, it feels weird to actually be reviewing one of these shows again. But, you know, number two, it's definitely interesting now we have the episode in our hands to actually see how it panned out. But let's talk about it. So first of all, the first thing I want to address and talk about this episode was actually one of my favourite things about it was how focused this episode was on Kate. Obviously, even though Kate isn't in this episode whatsoever and Ruby Rose is not in this episode at all, I really enjoyed that this episode didn't just drop Kate's storyline and didn't just drop her character from the universe and basically just forgot about her instantly, because I was kind of worried that this season and, you know, these first couple of episodes in Season 2 were basically going to be essentially a reboot of the show, and they were kind of just going to say, oh yeah, there was Kate Kane, she was Batwoman, now she's not, she's gone now for whatever reason, you know, and now we have Ryan Wilder, let's go. I was a bit worried that the show was going to drop Kate entirely and just not even address it, and, you know, that could have been really, really messy, and I was kind of worried and concerned about that. But what I really liked about this episode is that there was actually more focus on Kate in this episode, I'd say, than on Ryan Wilder, and I'll get to Ryan in a bit. But I really enjoyed that because it just allowed, you know, for the viewers and also for the characters on the show to actually bask in Kate's disappearance and actually allow them to kind of get some closure on this chapter of the show and move on to the next. Not that there's any closure on what happened to Kate, obviously this is a big mystery and I'll get onto that as well. But, you know, it allows us to kind of close off that chapter we had with Season 1, with Kate as Batwoman, and now to open up this new chapter with Ryan. And I think it was really well balanced because it allowed us to, you know, get some information on Kate about, you know, potentially what might have happened to her, and allow us to theorize and speculate about potentially where the story will go in regards to Kate. And I still don't know what they're going to do with that, how they're going to handle it, because I very much doubt that Ruby Rose is going to come back to the show, at least not in any large capacity. So I don't know exactly how they're going to handle Kate's character from this point going forward, but I really like the balance of allowing us to theorize and speculate about Kate and really focus on her, while also introducing us to Ryan and giving us a good idea of her character too. So I think it was really well balanced, and again, it really made it seem seamless and clean and nowhere near as messy as I was expecting. And speaking of Kate's disappearance, I thought it was really good the way they did it. She seems to have apparently died in a plane crash. She was on her way to National City to go and see Kara, of course Supergirl, to ask her to destroy this final piece of kryptonite that she has, as obviously that is the only thing that can destroy the Batsuit. And, you know, I think that this was a really interesting story, and a really interesting way for her to go out, like in a plane crash. That was kind of bizarre. And what I liked was Alice's reaction, because obviously Alice was out for revenge on Kate. She wanted to kill her herself, or at least be heavily involved in the way she was killed. So when she finds out that she just died in a plane crash, she's very angry about that. But I really liked that because it just allowed for this character to kind of go out in a way that was mysterious but also real. And it does create this mystery in regards to, you know, where is she? You know, is she dead or is she actually out somewhere? Because again, this is why I'm still very much skeptical in the whole thing, because I don't know if Ruby Rose is ever planning to come back or if she's even going to come back at all. Because at this point, if she's never going to come back, it would just be easier to say she's dead. But if she does plan to come back, then they might want to create a bit more of a mystery surrounding it, so we can kind of unravel that as the season goes on. So again, I think it's all very much in limbo at the moment. But I did enjoy the plane crash. I thought that was an interesting way to do it. And again, to give the context of her traveling to National City to go see Supergirl, I thought that was pretty cool as well. You know, it's a shame we didn't get to see that scene, obviously, but it's pretty cool to actually get the idea that she was traveling to National City to go see Kara. So in the end, her disappearance, I think it's good. I'm just interested to see how it plays out with the rest of the season, because I don't know if she is actually dead or if they are planning to bring her back at some point. We're just going to have to wait and see, and to be honest, I think the writers are probably waiting to see as well. Now let's talk about Ryan Wilder, of course played by Javicia Leslie. She is our new main character for the show, our new lead, our new Batwoman. And, you know, first impressions of Ryan Wilder after this episode, I really like her. I think she's great. Super fun, super charismatic. We didn't get as much of her in this episode as I was expecting. Like, again, the actual focus on Kate and the disappearance was way more prominent in the episode than actually introducing Ryan, which I did not expect. But again, I do like that, because Ryan will have plenty of time over the next couple of episodes to really explore. Not that I don't like Ryan, or that I don't want her to be Batwoman or anything. Again, I'm just really happy that this transition is much smoother than just, you know, a cut to this next character. But I think Javicia Leslie really shines in the role. She's very personable, she's very fun, a very different character from Kate, definitely. You know, if you're a fan of the kind of more darker take on Batwoman, she's definitely not that. She's a lot more lighthearted and fun-loving, which I think provides a nice dynamic and a nice, you know, differentiation in personalities of what we saw with Kate Kane in Season 1. So I think she's a really fun addition. I can't wait to see her in crossovers and stuff like that, how she's going to interact with characters like Kara and, you know, like Barry. I think her and Barry will really get on. I'm interested to see how she's going to, you know, interact with all those other big personalities, but I think she's a really great character. And, you know, we got hints about her backstory. You know, her mother was killed by Alice. So that is why I think that's probably a good thing in the story, because it allows not only her to relate to Mary, but also keeps Alice relevant in the story. Because, you know, if you saw my Season 1 review, I was saying, you know, and something I've been saying for a while about Season 2, I was very worried about Alice as a character, because I didn't know how relevant she was going to be going forward. But if she killed Ryan's mother, that keeps her relevant, at least for like this season. So I think that's quite a good way to tie her back in. And I've seen a lot of speculation that, you know, apparently Scarecrow was supposed to be a part of this season, and apparently he was the one who was going to be responsible for killing Ryan's mother. And people are saying they switched out for Alice in order to keep her relevant, which, you know, I think that would make sense. So, you know, we'll see if Scarecrow actually does show up in this season, but I think that this was a really interesting choice, but one that works and, again, benefits Alice, because I don't really want Alice to leave the show because I think she's so great. So to keep her relevant in this way, I really enjoyed. And she's also just a very different character from what we've seen in the Arrowverse before, especially as a main protagonist. You know, she's homeless, she's got a record for a crime she didn't commit. You know, she has all these different things about her that we haven't really seen in a hero in the Arrowverse before, so she kind of serves as this fresh new take on a superhero. And again, I'm very excited to see how she blends in and how she interacts with the other heroes among the Arrowverse, just because I think she's very different to the others. And, you know, in terms of how she looks in the suit, she looks great. I mean, obviously we know we are going to get a bit more of an upgraded suit in the coming weeks, but I really enjoy Javicia Leslie overall. I think she's really great, and I can't wait to see how she grows and continues to bond with the other characters as the season progresses. And as I mentioned as well, Alice, I really enjoyed her in this episode. You know, we get to see a bit of drunk Alice in this, which was fun. And I really enjoyed the way she played up the idea that, you know, she is kind of mad at the fact that Kate is dead and she didn't do it, or she wasn't at least involved in the orchestration of it. And she does actually deliver this great moment where she's talking to Tommy Elliot, who's of course Bruce Wayne. I'll get to that as well, where she's talking about how she actually planned for Jacob to kill Kate, or to kill Batwoman, and then for him to unmask Batwoman to find out he shot his own daughter dead. Like, it was very dark, but very good and very Alice, and I enjoyed that scene too. And I really loved the scene as well, because Jacob's not in this episode much, but when he actually finds Alice at the end of the episode and she drops the bomb on him that Kate is Batwoman, I thought that was a great scene between those two. And, you know, it really allowed Jacob to actually finally realize that, hey, you know, my daughter was Batwoman, I shunned her, you know, I basically said I hated her and hated who she is. And I thought that was a nice scene for them, because I think Jacob had to find out sooner rather than later when it comes to this season, so it was nice for them to actually just do it straight out of the gate. And I'm going to be interested to see how he actually reacts to it going forward, because also Sophie finds out in this episode too. Kate leaves a note for Sophie, basically a post-mortem note saying that, you know, if you're reading this, I'm no longer here. And she confirms to her that she's Batwoman. So, you know, all the characters now, you know, who were in Season 1 who didn't know she was Batwoman now know she is. So I think that was a nice way, again, to kind of close off this chapter with Kate. You know, it allowed those characters to actually find out, and we're going to see, you know, the fallout of that in the coming episodes, I'm sure. And I mentioned him a few seconds ago, but Tommy Elliot as Bruce Wayne, really fun introduction. I mean, obviously, I really liked Tommy Elliot last season. I thought he was really great. And, you know, seeing him as Hush at the end of the season was fantastic. I love that costume and his sort of performance as Hush. But seeing him as Bruce Wayne, I mean, it's interesting. It's certainly not Bruce Wayne, but then at the same time, you know, this isn't supposed to be Bruce Wayne. This is supposed to be Tommy Elliot, you know, pretending to be Bruce Wayne as he knows him, which is this, you know, playboy. And, you know, I enjoyed, you know, that shot where we see him in this big mansion and he's sleeping with, you know, different women and stuff like that, you know, taking advantage of the playboy lifestyle and stuff like that. But, you know, his character of Bruce, like, I thought it was interesting, you know, to see him kind of walking around and interacting with Luke and with Julia. It was just interesting to see that, because you kind of had to see him try and play it up as if he was actually Bruce Wayne. Obviously, Julia is the one who fools him out and says, you know, that's not Bruce, because he didn't know the code name for Alfred. Whereas Luke, you know, I think Luke was just in such heavy grieving that he just saw Bruce returning as this, you know, sign of hope, you know, and he just completely bought into it, which is, you know, completely fair enough. So he ended up giving him the kryptonite and also letting him into the Batcave and stuff like that, and revealing all the secrets, which was, you know, a big slip up on his part, but again, you can understand why. But I did enjoy his performance as Bruce Wayne. I mean, I think this is the only episode we're going to get Bruce Wayne now, because obviously we do have Ryan fight Bruce at the end, or fight Tommy at the end, and she completely mashes his face up. It was very dark. I was surprised how bloody it went. I didn't expect them to go to that level. But that, you know, face that he had as Bruce Wayne is kind of destroyed now, and Tommy's gone back to Arkham, so I don't think we're actually going to see Warren Christie, you know, as Bruce Wayne going forward. I thought he was going to have a bigger arc this season, but I guess, you know, again, because they've had to change some stuff given Ruby's departure, I think if Ruby was still on the show, I think we would have had a much larger arc with Bruce Wayne, and I think he would have actually played a bigger role in the show. But because obviously we now have Ryan, that story kind of has gone to, you know, it's kind of gone to pot, so I think that they've just kind of had to write off that storyline in a way. But even for one episode, I really enjoyed having Bruce Wayne on the show, even though it wasn't Bruce Wayne. But you know what I'm saying. I enjoyed having him there. I thought it was interesting to see how Tommy Elliot would actually play Bruce Wayne, given he's been so jealous of him his entire life. To actually see him step up and take up the mantle was pretty fun. And we also got the Batmobile in this episode. We finally got to see the Batmobile of this universe. And I've seen a lot of people complain about the Batmobile, saying it's just a souped up sports car. And, I mean, yeah, it is. It is just a blacked out Corvette. But at the end of the day, you know, I think it's pretty cool. I quite like the Batmobile in this. You know, I think we're going to see a lot more of it this season. And I think we're going to see it actually take on a different look. I think we're going to see a bit more red decor in it to actually match Batwoman. But I really like the Batmobile in this. I think it's cool. You know, I kind of like the idea of, in a realistic, grounded universe, you know, the Batmobile being a sports car. I think that works. And that's why I like, from what we've seen of the Robert Pattinson Batman movie that we're getting next year, in that film, the Batmobile also is pretty much a souped-up sports car. And I like that. I think it's pretty cool. You know, we've seen some really wacky Batmobiles in the past, but I think that just having a sports car, you know, in a show that's supposed to be grounded and realistic, I think it works. You know, I enjoy that. And I think it looks great. And also, I think it is also a budgetary thing. You know, at the end of the day, this is a CW show. There's not really a lot they can do in creating this, you know, wonderful and whimsical Batmobile. You know, they don't really have the budget for that. So just using a Corvette, you know, is probably the most they could do with their budget. But again, I think it really works for the show, and works. I think it's going to really suit Ryan as a character too, to kind of have a Corvette, you know, this really cool sports car as the Batmobile. So I know a lot of people don't like it, and you know, if you don't like it, that's fair enough. But me personally, I really enjoy the idea of the Batmobile being a, you know, a sports car, particularly in this day and age and in this interpretation. So for me, it completely worked. And the final thing to talk about is the final scene, where after the fight with Tommy Elliot as Bruce Wayne, where he shoots Ryan with kryptonite, with, you know, with the kryptonite bullet in the that's going to go through the Batsuit, we actually see that Ryan appears to have kryptonite poisoning. It's not entirely made sure what's going on with her, but she looks at her wound and there's kind of, you know, green energy pulsing through her veins, which gives off the impression that that's kryptonite poisoning, which is something we've seen, I believe, in Supergirl before. It'll be interesting to see what they actually do with that and what that means, but, you know, I guess that's something we'll see in the next couple of episodes. But what did you guys think about this premiere? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you think this was a good start to Season 2, or were you not really enjoying this episode and what it was doing? Whatever you think, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Very interested to hear what people think about this premiere episode. And as always, guys, if you want to see more DC content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And I hope to see you guys again in my next video, which will probably be my review for Episode 2 of Batwoman. So I'll see you guys then.